Hello, my Ohana. Today is January 27th, 2025. My name is Lisa. I am the Awkward Quilter GA. I do want to say that this is going to be an unedited video. Streamlabs does not allows me a pause function. And so I am going to do the best that I can as if we were on a live, except there are no comments. So I'm going to be doing a tutorial today by request on what we have called Lisa's Life Quilt block. This is a scrappy quilt, and I'm going to show you a picture of it, a short video, so just give me a second. So this is my scrappy quilt, and there is no block for it. There is no pattern for it. It was just something that I came up with. I wanted to utilize some scraps. As I have said, that I am in the process of, and I had to move that reflection off that light there. I am in the process in 2025 of exploring create what you can do with quilts. Now, I have been quilting for just a little over 3 years, watched all the videos, did the basic blocks, followed along on tutorials. And this year, I just want to express myself in quilts. I do not feel like there is a basic rule except your 1/4 inch seam, but quilting should be fun if you are doing it just as a hobby, and you should enjoy the process. So I was trying to determine what I wanted to do with my quilt, and it's just a long backstory. But I chose to use black and white as my background, and I had this wonderful layer cake from Patrick Lowe's. It was called basically black and white, and it was tone fabric, beautiful, beautiful, and made a wonderful palette. And I had a whole bunch of scraps that I wanted to utilize. So I decided that I was going to do an applique version of a flip and stitch. I did not want a traditional circle. I did not want just everything to be clean. It was going to be a representation of my life, which everything is not always black and white. There is a lot of color, a lot of movement through your life. There's a lot of growth. There are textures and people that walk into your life and leave your life. So it's just a representation of me. Very easy. So you will need a ruler. And again, I am sorry about the glare. I'm going to move that. I did use a 12.5, a 4.5. And if you don't have the 4.5 will make it easier for the what we're calling the circle block. And I've also used this melon block ruler template. If you don't have one, don't rush out to the store. I will put an upload where you can upload it in the description of the video so you can get it and make your own template. No problem. Okay, and I will put the marks on there for you. So I am going to move this aside. Now, like I said, I used a layer cake, and the layer cake is a 10-inch square piece of fabric. I also used scrap fabric that I sewed together and made fabric. For the purpose of this video, because I'm not making any more blocks, the quilt behind me is actually completed. I just pulled some random half strips, 2.5-inch strips, and 5-inch squares, charm pack squares from my stash. The squares I cut down to 4.5 inches, and I'm sure that for those of you that are very, very organized, you probably have some 4.5s that you've already prepped and cut for a project that you are looking to do in the future. So this is very easy. It goes very easy. It is pretty much a applique block, and it's an applique flip and stitch. And I am turning my iron on. You will want your iron to be nice and hot. So the first thing I did when taking my 10-inch piece of fabric, I went ahead and cut it on the diagonal, just as you would if you were making a half square triangle. And I pretty much eyeballed that. So now I have 2 pieces. I'm going to set one aside. I'm going to take my 2.5-inch strip, and you do want it to be longer than your triangle itself. Remember that you are working on the bias, so there is a little stretch to this. So I'm going to just kind of pop a few pins because I want to be able to catch that seam. And I'm just going to take my 1/4-inch seam along the top. I do have my stitch length popped down to 2. I normally do not sew on a 1.8, and that is because it's just too much of a hassle for me to unpick stitches. So I'm just going to normally you do not see me sewing on a line or on a tutorial, but again, like I said, Top Studio does not allow me to pause the video. So I'm just going to cut a little bit of that out of the way, and then I'm going to go ahead, open it up, and give it a good press to the dark, so to the red. Okay, that a good press. And what I'm going to do is I am just going to eyeball this where my points are aligned in the middle. This will finish at 10 inches. So you are not going to lose any of your sides. Go ahead. I'm going to pop a pin. For those of you who are not pinners, you can obviously skip this portion. Okay. Take this over. I'm going to give those a good press. No problem. We've all seen this before. What I want to do from here is square it up to 10 inches. So I am going to put my ruler down, and I want to center my diagonal line as much as possible on the in the middle. Now there is a lot of give when you are making this block. Again, you're working with bias seam, so there is stretch, so you can make things work and match them. And if they don't quite match up when you're working with it, no problem. When you're sewing it up, no problem. It's a life quilt. Nothing in life is always straight and narrow. There are bends and curves and imperfection, and I never tell anyone I'm perfect, because I am so imperfect. So what I'm trying to do is just center it on here. I want to make sure that I can get a 10-inch block out of it, and or 10-inch square. So I'm going to cut and cut, and sometimes it's a little difficult sitting down. I normally cut standing up. Look, more scraps. Just more scraps. Okay, so I'm just going to complete my block to 10 inches. Just like that. And that part just does not want to cut away. I think I'm like everybody that we know we need a new rotary blade in our rotary cutter. And there was a little piece I'm going to turn off here. We all know that we need a new rotary blade in our rotary cutter, and we just don't change it out, which is not a problem. It was just a little sliver that I did not get. I'm going to set that aside. I'm done with that ruler for now. So now I have something that looks like this. I'm going to set this aside for a minute. I'm going to grab my 4.5 4.5 inch strips. Now, this is where the applique portion comes in. And with this ruler, I did not want to make a circle. Like I said, I wanted to make a shape that was a more rounded square, because I don't always fit into everybody's version of the perfect circle, perfect square, perfect shape. I am not As my screen name describes, I am awkward and don't always fit into everybody's thought of what is normal. So what I'm doing is this block actually has a center line and a center point. And I am trying to get that line to go to the point to be in the center as possible. Now, when I copy or make a block pattern for you, a template for you, I will have it looking the same way so you can line it up. And I will say that I did buy this off of Amazon. So, and I don't even know who I bought it, who the seller was, who the vendor was. I do not think it was a name brand. So, and I have a pinking rotary cutter. Now, the pinking shears help because this is going to be a open applique or raw edge applique, and the pinking shears will help me keep everything from fraying. And I'm just going around, and what I've done is there is a 1/4 inch seam line here. I have put the 1/4 inch seam line touching the corners of my block. So, and I'll show this again to you where that little picture is not marking. I do free motion quilt my own quilts on my domestic machine. So anything that is suspect, I'm going to capture that in the quilting process. Again, so if you can see it, and I'm lining up that center point with the point of my block, and I am using the 1/4 inch seam as a guideline. Now you may say, well, this is like a drunkard's path block, and it is not, because when you are through with it, it will not make a perfect circle, like I said. So I'm cutting it along. Okay. And so I have these beautiful pink shears. Now you can also go ahead and do a straight line rotary cutter. Like I said, I like that jagged look of the raw edge. It adds a little texture to it, and that is what I'm looking for in my exploration. So what I'm going to do now is I'm taking this block, I'm going to stick a pin in it. So I'm just matching up the corners. And I'm going to do that to the opposite side, just matching the corner. There. Now I'm going to go around with an applique stitch. For this process, you do not need to use heat and bond. You do not need to use a fusible, because you do have a backing that you're stabilizing it on, and you will be sewing through 2 pieces of fabric. And I want it to keep it as soft and loose as possible. So again, I'm going to take it to my sewing machine. I am going to use an applique stitch all the way around the curve. And let me see if I can make this one a little bit bigger so you can see it. So I'm just putting my applique stitch pattern, setting my needle just on the outside of my fabric, and I'm just going to cover it. So go as slow as you need to or as fast as you want to. Before I do anything else, I am going to press everything down and let me get back on here. And let me get back here. I'm done with the sewing machine, so we're going to just give it a good press down. So I gave it a good press down. And now I'm just going to turn this over, and anything that is sticking out, I just want to clean that up a little because it will help in the squaring up process. And actually, this one's not too bad. But I got some points there, so I'm just cleaning it up a little and using my 4-inch block as a guide. I'm just looking for anything that's sticking out. Really easy. So we have this. Now this is the fun part, and this is how we are going. You could leave that if you want to. I did not. I just took a pair of scissors and very carefully cut it out, keeping a 1/4 inch did on both sides. Don't throw that away. That's good scrap. Okay. Did the same thing, and I'm just making a 1/4 inch cut around it. You want to keep this because if you have a whole bunch of these, you can actually sew them together and you would be able to make a circle applique by using the circle template in there. So you would have a whole bunch of that, so don't throw it away. But here it is. Here is what we are calling Lisa's life block. Now, when I stitch this, now this is an extra, it's just going to be an orphan block. But when I stitch this or quilt this on my domestic machine, I'm actually not going to quilt on the colored portion itself, the background piece. I'm not going to quilt on that. I'm going to stay on my whites in this case, or those scrap pieces that I used. I'm going to show you the quilt again as far as how it comes together. It is a super, super easy, fun block. It allows you to use some creativity and just think about the doors that open up. Don't be afraid of applique. Don't be afraid of trying something new, but you could do a whole bunch of things. And you can use this as a beginning or a building block to something that you want to do. There's just a whole bunch of possibilities. I'm going to show this block again or the quilt again. And at some point when I am finished quilting it, I will show you the finished product. It is queued up. It is my second quilt that I have to quilt. I do have Millie's dresses that I need to quilt first. So very easy, and all I did is alternate the block colors, the black and white, as well as alternated the scrap colors that I used. If you stare at this quilt in person long enough, you can actually see another block pattern that relates to. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comment section. Again, I will have a link where you can get the template for to make your corners. If you want to make circles, that's fine. Do whatever makes you happy. I hope this helped you. Ladies and gentlemen who requested this, thank you, Judy Hebert. Thank you so much for helping me name the blog. I love it. It is Lisa's Life Quilt, and this is the blog for it. Simple, repetitious quilt. Happy scrapping. Y'all be blessed, be kind, and keep sewing.